time, never eating any vegetables or fruit or meat or whatever, you would dry up pretty quick. There's no nutritional value. It's good, it's yummy, but no nutritional value. If we want to be good servants of Jesus Christ, we have to have nourishment. We have to be nourished on words of faith and good doctrine. Now the second thing, the second encouragement that Paul gives us there is kind of embedded in that phrase. Notice he says, nourished in the words of faith and of the good doctrine which you have carefully followed. The second thing we need to do is we need to carefully follow words of faith and good doctrine. We need to be nourished on it, but we can't be nourished on it if we don't carefully follow it. Now the word that's translated carefully follow is a word that means understanding and practicing perseveringly. Understanding and practicing perseveringly. In other words, it's not really sufficient just to read some Bible verses so that you can check off the box on your offering envelope. That's what I did growing up. You may not have offering. We don't have offering envelopes here, do we? When I was growing up, everybody had a box of envelopes. And some of you probably had that in other churches you've been involved in. And on each envelope, there are a series of little boxes. Present, Bible read daily, lesson studied, giving, worship attendance. You know, you check those things off. And I would always have my Bible by my bed, and I would at least crack it open and skim a verse so that I could check the Bible read daily box on my envelope. Now, that's something short of carefully following good doctrine. That's something short of understanding and practicing perseveringly to be nourished in words of faith and good doctrine. I learned that all too well during my college years. It's not something that you pick up by osmosis. You don't stick a Bible under your pillow at night and go to sleep and become a good minister of Jesus Christ. It's something you have to put effort to. Carefully follow good doctrine, and you can be a good minister of Jesus Christ. Well, that's the first thing that Paul mentions to Timothy. He wants him to be a good minister of Jesus Christ. But secondly, he wants him to be a godly minister of Jesus Christ. Notice what he says in verse 7. But reject profane and old wives' fables, and exercise yourself rather to godliness. When he says reject, he uses a word that indicates a strong refusal. It could be translated, have nothing to do with. Profane and old wives' fables. It's a strong word. Matter of fact, I think some of the newer translations even say, have nothing to do with profane and old wives. Now the phrase old wives' fables is kind of funny. You've heard just in our culture the term, that's just an old wives' tale, right? An old wives' tale. Now I can imagine in our day and age of everybody trying to find something to get offended about, you ladies could probably easily be offended by something like that, something referred to as an old wives' tale, especially if you're a wife. But it's, and I don't know where the term came from, but our phrase, the old wives' tale, probably came from this verse. And it's a Greek phrase that was used commonly in this day in philosophical arguments, and it conveys the idea of limitless gullibility. Limitless gullibility. Now, I bet you some of our teenage girls here have experienced something like this sometime, where somebody tries to sell them a bill of goods or tries to convince them something's true and it's not really true. Guys like to do that to girls all the time. I don't know why that is, but have you ever had somebody tell you something and you thought, well, that sounds ridiculous, and you go, do I have gullible written on my forehead or on the back of my shirt? Anybody ever been on a snipe hunt? Well, we don't go there. Here, snipe, snipe, snipe. That's what the word talks about. Limitless gullibility. Paul doesn't want us to be gullible. He doesn't want Timothy to be gullible. He doesn't want us to be gullible. He wants us to be godly ministers. He says, reject profane and old wives' fables. Have nothing to do with them, but rather exercise yourself to godliness. Now the word exercise there, as a verb, an imperative verb, means to practice, to train. Again, implying Effort. Effort. Thank you. It implies effort. Exercise yourself, rather, to godliness. Not for your own self-promotion. Not so that you can stand up and say to folks, look how godly I am. No, but so that you will be fit for your Master's purposes. That's why He wants us to exercise ourselves to godliness. He compares it to physical exercise. He says physical exercise, bodily exercise profits a little. And it does. I was telling the folks in the early service that I passed a guy on the way to church this morning. He got out of his shiny yellow Corvette to check his mailbox at his apartment complex. And he was all buff and, strong and built and everything. And yeah, that's what I'm going to look like one day. And I thought, he's worked really hard to develop that bodybuilder's physique, But guess what? One of these days he's going to be 90. And he won't quite look like that anymore if he makes it to 90. And then probably not long after that he's going to be horizontal. And what will his big muscles profit him then? Nothing. Think about it. James says this life is but a vapor. It appears for a moment and then vanishes away. If I exercise myself bodily in this life, which I should, I had a doctor's appointment this past week. She said, you need to exercise more. Okay. My daughter's riding her bike without training wheels now. I'm going to have to pump my tires up and go riding with her. If I exercise my body in this life, I may develop a Mr. America physique. But if this life is like a vapor and only lasts for a moment and then vanishes away, and then I have all of eternity, and I've not exercised myself to godliness, what profit is it to me? This life is nothing compared to eternity. Paul doesn't deny that bodily exercise is good and has profit. It does. Bodily exercise profits a little, he says. But he said godliness, in verse 8, has profit both in this life and in the life to come. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm going to invest my time and energy in something that's going to have profit, I would much rather have something that profits now and forever than something that just profits now. Now, if you don't believe in forever, if you think this life is all there is, and when you die you go to the grave and you're worm food and that's the end of it, well then there's no point in pursuing